And recording. So about 2.5 weeks ago, I reacted to a band by the name of Galneryus. Song was "Angel of Salvation," and that song kind of blew my mind. um, it was a live performance with an orchestra backing them, and funny enough, that wasn't even the main focus. The singer hit crazy, crazy notes. Like, I don't know how many octaves high he went, but it was very, very impressive. And on top of that, the guitarist also stole the show away from him. Like, you wouldn't think that'd be possible, but like, you could see the veins popping in his forearm based off of how hard he was going and how fast he was shredding. And it was like a 15, 16 minute long song, so he was just going constantly with such like a fervor and like fast pace where like it's just so impressive. And there was a classical music element to the entire construction, but also the performance of it. Like, I think one of the guitar solos was like, from the comments that I read, was supposed to be essentially the violin portion of another classical song. It sounded like elements of Canon in D, but it was a different song, but in D. So what I'm doing today is a reaction to The Force of Courage, and this is from 2016. And luckily enough, it looks like this one has an English sub and a Spanish sub, so I should be able to understand what they're actually saying. So another 15.5 minute song, so I'm just going to jump right into it. Looks like this might be broken down into movements. So movement 1, the sense of my life. No backing orchestra this time. Doesn't look like the keyboard player is doing this, so there's a backing track. I do appreciate the sound of the strings. It sounds really nice, pleasant. Drumming in the background kind of sounds like military, like you're marching. sounds like it is like a military kind of ballad. We're talking about bloodshed and like fighting a war, but it's got kind of like a positive spin to it, because the person the song is directed towards, he's saying we will keep on fighting, we'll stand together. The promised land, like there's a bright future, so like you're doing this, but like for a good reason, like it's righteous. So it's starting with like death and bloodshed, but all these major chords and notes being played, and then the positive inflection that he has makes it feel like kind of joyous. So like you're doing it for the right reasons, and it sounds positive and good because you have the force of courage. That sounds really good, and you can tell by his the way he's singing, his style of singing, that he's a big fan of Bruce Dickinson. Tetris? another classical song. Alright, switched into the third section. Uh, that split screen that they had right there with the drummer and the bassist was excellent. That you could see that close up on the drummer that was being very, very careful to hit the exact pattern because the time signature slightly changed. But also, it looks like he's just tired. Like, this is a long, long song. We're 10 minutes in. So it's probably like 8 minutes of playing that he's done, considering that there was that intro. That's just kind of funny. But I don't blame him. I'd be tired too. I'd be super exhausted. As far as the guitar playing goes, it sounded like he was going back into like an actual classical composition. I can't tell what song it reminds me of, but it sounds like a well-known classical song. I just can't think of it. It's morphing too, so like it's the hint of saying like, hey, do you recognize this song? I'm playing something different, and then going back to a song and no, I'm changing it. But all that is being underlied by like almost like a Dragon Force sound. So classical meets Dragon Force. And then the singing has that Iron Maiden quality to it as well. So there's like a 90s, like an early to mid 90s kind of like vintage sound quality to this. Like obviously this is 2016 and I doubt they've been around for that long. But like you can hear the influence in it. And it's just switching to the third section of the song. So that last one was Dreams and Reality, I think it said. So it did have kind of like a dreamlike quality to it. The first portion was more of a build and the technical prowess. And this got more into the classical. And the third portion here sounds like it's deeper. So I'm just gonna scale back real quick. I think it started around here. Transition. Cadence, the singers change. rhythm. That had like a really ballad approach to it. That last portion. That sounds so nice. Really stripped down. Nice contrast to everything that came before. Is this the last song? Your set's done. That was pretty damn impressive. All right, so that last little bit where the guitar player was picking the melody in like a really slow fashion, it makes me think of like when you're emptying a bottle and there's just that last little bit of liquid in there and you're kind of like shaking it and you're trying to use like gravity to get it out. That's the only way I can kind of describe it to like someone who might not play an instrument. Because if you play guitar, you understand the quality of shaking the guitar to get that last little bit of tone out of it. Even though it does nothing, you feel like it does. It might have something to do with the vibration that you're getting and you're feeling from the strings, but like just shaking it to sort of get that last little bit of sound out. But yeah, that was a nice little contrast to have that single picking slowed down tempo after that massive sound, that wall of sound that you had in that fourth section where it turned into like this big stripped down kind of ballad. And I say stripped down just because the solos kind of disappeared and it was more chords and you had more of the chorus kind of singing that was present in each section, but in this last one was like, excuse me, but in this last section was kind of like the overriding theme. So that was really cool. So it was a journey. Each each section, each movement had its own sort of feeling to it. The intro portion kind of just introduced you to the theme of the actual song. So there was bits and pieces of soloing. There was a lot of orchestral stuff, um, repeated sort of melodies afterwards. So like it's introducing you to the melody that's going to be elaborated on later on in the actual song. Then the second part was that's where the classical pieces came back in, and it became more elaborate. Then it got dark in the third in the third section until finally you reach that crescendo and that triumphant kind of feeling, that euphoria, if you will. I know this was constructed really, really well, and it did have such a like joyful sound and presentation to it, even though the lyrics were about like war. Like I said earlier, it comes across as having like a righteous kind of feeling, like you're doing it for a good reason because you're fighting for somebody and you're fighting with somebody. The singing did remind me a lot of like there was hints of Bruce Dickinson, so that it had kind of like that Iron Maiden kind of quality to it, minus the aggression. Like there wasn't as much aggression. There was a ton of major chords, which kind of added on to that positivity that I was feeling, and that little piece where there was a split screen between the bassist and the drummer. If this was the last song in the set, then I can understand why the drummer looked as tired as he did, just because, like, I imagine this is probably like an hour and a half show, probably closer to an hour and a half. And this song's 15 minutes. Angel of Salvation's like 15, 16 minutes. And there was so much double pedal going on, double bass. He was just, I'd be tired. I'd be so tired. I'd say the difference between this song and Angel of Salvation is Angel of Salvation seemed more technical. And it seemed more like you actually had to pay more attention to what you were doing as the guitarist, because there was so much shredding going on that you had to be mindful of not getting yourself tired, but also what part of the song you're on, and if you're repeating yourself, and if you're hitting everything exactly right and making sure you're on time. This one seemed more relaxed. Like there was a lot of technical stuff happening, but there was also that piece of the song where the guitarist actually walked to the center of the stage and was just smiling while he was playing, because you could tell he was just having fun. And that adds to the sort of joyful nature of the entirety of this song. Like the message was really positive, or it felt positive. So like this is leaving me off on a high note, which if this is the last song in the set, you want to send the audience away like on a high point and leave them feeling good. And that last little portion where he did do the melodic thing, that serves kind of like as a cool down, where there's a bunch of shows I've gone to where like you try to be interactive with the audience, but make them sort of have the same breath that you have. So everyone is tired from like raging out and like actually like dancing and singing along, and they've lost their breath. But then you cool everything down so that everyone can get in sync with each other, and you play something softer and quieter and slower so that you can all get in rhythm with each other, and it becomes this weird interactive kind of thing where like you all feel like you've had an experience and you know each other a lot better. And that's such a good feeling. I'm kind of rambling now, so this was a long song, long video. So if you stayed to the end, thank you. Give me more songs by them to react to. I, I'm curious if the majority of their catalog is going to be like 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, or if they have like a 3-minute song.